Poor, stupid pigs. Born without souls.
Hey, what's up, world? This video is actually going to be a continuation of my previous video. In my previous video, I was talking entirely about Israel. I believe it was titled, "The World Turns a Blind Eye to Israel's Genocide," or something like that. So I want to continue off from that video. I want to kind of like have this video focused on that too. There's a bunch of other stuff that, of course, I have content on, but I want to make this video, it's going to be the last video on this subject for a little while, but I think it's going to be an important video. So in my last video, I was trying to show a connection between Israel and Hamas. I was showing how Israel is actually directly responsible for the rise of Hamas in Gaza, and I provided some evidence for that. However, I completely forgot about this video that I made about 5 months ago, the truth about Trump's upcoming second term. And I forgot that at the 27 mark of this video, I also presented evidence for this collusion that I talked about in my last video. Now, before I show this part, I want to just quickly go over my description here, right? So my bingo card has war with Iran, which seems like it's actually coming up, gun confiscations, which we haven't really seen yet, or other Second Amendment infringements, 40 trillion national debt, which we're definitely heading towards, war with Russia, haven't quite got there yet, but there's been some back and forth escalation with that, successful assassination attempt. This maybe this isn't going to happen, but it's still on my bingo card. First Amendment violations, which we have seen. I guess it's like debatable whether or not they violated these students' First Amendment rights. They're here on student visas, so there's a debate whether or not they have this right. Now, the male who the judge just approved his deportation, he's not necessarily being deported because of his First Amendment violations. They're deporting him because apparently he didn't disclose some information on his visa application. So, like, they're actually deporting him for that. However, there are these other students who are being deported entirely because of First Amendment activities. And not even really major First Amendment activities. Some of them just liked things that were like anti-Israeli genocide. They like this stuff on social media, and they're being deported for that. So this is clear First Amendment violations. And then, of course, we have unforeseeable wild card, which I'm sure will be tied into this war with Russia. But anyway, let's just quickly go over what I showed in this video, because I thought it was a clear indication of collusion, of deception, of these two groups sort of working together. Think about this. You got like their leaders all like, yeah, don't accept ceasefire negotiations without me. And he says this as he's preparing for death, right? Oh, I'm preparing for death. I don't understand this concept. Oh, yes, I'm going to prepare for death. It's like, wait a second. Wait, you mean you're suicidal? Like, I don't get this. So death is on its way. And instead of escaping, let's see what he tries to do, right? Let's look at this bullshit video. So this guy, right? He's preparing for death. This is the guy, right? They want you to believe this bullshit. Let's all laugh at this, right? So here's their video, right? Israeli drone captures Yahya Sinwar's last moments alive. Let's check this out. This is last moments alive, everyone. What is he doing? He's just chilling out here, right? You got this place blown down wall. It's all fucking blown down. Not a very good hiding spot. And he's just chilling on the couch here. Right? This is like the head of Hamas, right? No, he doesn't have like some fucking bunker he can hide in where the hostages are. They can't find the hostages. He's not going to hide there. No, he's going to hide right here, right out in the open, just hanging out on this couch, of course, completely covered up, so you can't even identify whether it's him or not. Okay, so you can go and watch this video for that full clip, but to me, it's just obvious. I don't even know what to call it. Conspiracy, deception. They have this guy come out with this statement. The head of Hamas comes out with this statement. Don't accept ceasefire negotiations without me. And then he says this as he's preparing for death. So as he knows that he's not going to be around to approve those ceasefire negotiations. And of course, in this video, I then go on to say that, this is a clear indication that they're going to drag this conflict on as long as possible. And of course, the guy in the video, he's fully covered up, so you can't even identify who this really is. It can be a complete actor. It can be anybody. It could be, who knows, it could be an Israeli here. So I thought that this was really good. I thought, I kind of forgot about this clip. I wanted to share it because I think it plays into this whole collusion between the two parties. Because Hamas could have easily have come out and been like, no, this wasn't our leader. They could have come out and they could have attempted to discredit this. But anyway, let's not spend too much time on this. Let's move into our news articles about this conflict. So there's a couple of things that I want to cover. So we have this article which came out February 11th. It's actually an older article. I'm not sure if I covered it in one of my previous videos, but I'm going to cover this because there was an update to these stories, right? So we have Palestinian Red Crescent accuses Israeli forces of killing Gaza family and medics sent to rescue them. The sound of gunfire crackled over the phone as the teenage girl hid in the car and spoke. An Israeli tank was near the vehicle as she and her family were trying to heed Israelis' call to evacuate their home in Gaza. Israeli troops were firing on the car, the teen said in terrified calls to relatives and emergency services. Everyone in the vehicle was killed except her and her 5-year-old female cousin, Hind, she said. They are shooting at us, 15-year-old Layyin told the Palestinian Red Crescent. The tank is next to me. So I want to pause and cover some things. So this is as they're trying to heed Israelis' calls to evacuate their homes. Hey, yeah, evacuate your homes. Come out here so that we can then shoot you when you're out and in the open, right? So, and then there was a burst of gunfire, she screamed. That call on January 29th began a desperate rescue attempt by medics with the Palestinian Red Crescent, one of many during the war in Gaza. But after the organization sent an ambulance, it lost contact with the crew. On Saturday, 12 days later, the ambulance was discovered, blackened and destroyed. The 2 medics were dead. The Palestinian Red Crescent accused Israeli forces of targeting the ambulance as it pulled up near the family's vehicle. The organization said it had coordinated the journey with Israeli forces as in the past. So this is just like the members of the food kitchen, that food kitchen that I talked about in the last video, that I've talked about in other videos, that were killed, that were obviously targeted, even though that they were going on a agreed upon route, even though they had trackers in their vehicles, and Israeli forces targeted them too, blew them up, killed everybody. So the family car was found as well with 6 bodies, including Layyin's and Hind's. There was no immediate comment from Israel. I guess they kill the girl? I guess when she was on the phone, she was saying that she was alive, everybody else was dead in the vehicle. But it looks like found it with 6 bodies. This was a girl and her cousin. A movement around the tiny enclave carries deadly risk as Israel presses its ground and air offensive. Israel's prime minister has announced plans for a ground invasion of the crammed southern city of Rafah and said well over 1 million people would need to move. This has already begun. So Israel says it strikes Hamas targets and holds Hamas responsible for civilian casualties because the militants fight from civilian areas. Okay, now this is something that we're going to be looking at, right? So this is something that one of the members of Trump's State Department has basically just also said. We're going to see that in a video. And this is what's really disturbing, right? So all of these people that are killed, including the members of that World Food Kitchen, or whatever it was called, that we talked about in our last video, that Israel obviously targeted, all of these people that are killed, all of these civilians, Israel does not recognize their responsibility in their deaths. They do not hold themselves responsible whatsoever. Instead, they say this is all Hamas's responsibility, and they say this because they claim that Hamas fights from civilian areas. Gaza is not a big place. The whole place is civilian areas, right? So this is their claim. So what they do is they just lay waste to entire civilian areas, and they say, oh well, we might have got some Hamas members in there, so who cares about all of the civilians that died? And they don't even need proof that Hamas was there. It's just like, oh yeah, Hamas has used civilian areas in the past, so we're just gonna assume that they're now in every civilian area. It's a really ridiculous form of logic. So anyway, this is not the only time that Israeli forces have fired on ambulances. So we got this other story here. This is from March 29th. 329. This is like a month, 2 months later, right? Israel admits firing at ambulances and fire trucks during Gaza offensive. The Israeli army on Saturday admitted its troop had opened fire on suspicious vehicles in the Gaza Strip that turned out to be ambulances and fire trucks during an offensive launched earlier this month. Hamas has condemned the attack and accused Israel of committing a war crime. Now, once again, Hamas, they're in bed with Israel. This is all very well coordinated by the people who are at the tops of these organizations. But anyway, I'm not going to read this whole article. Instead, I'm going to jump over to this channel, Jimmy Dore, the Jimmy Dore Show. He actually covered an update on this. Where is it at? Right here. Hamas made us do it. That's what's on the thumbnail here. So Israel lies about executing paramedics in Gaza. So essentially, what happened is in this video they go over pretty much a really similar article. The article I covered was March 29th. They cover this Associated Press article here. Israeli troops killed 15 Palestinian medics and buried them in mass graves, UN says. So they love their mass graves over there. I can only imagine how many mass graves that they have over there. So anyway, what's interesting with the update that they actually cover here, let me first actually show what the member of the State Department said, right? So they include this video with this lady from the State Department. Here's what she said.
With international law.
Well, I can tell you that for too long, Hamas has abused civilian infrastructure, cynically using it to shield themselves. Hamas's actions have caused humanitarians to be caught in the crossfire. The use of civilians or civilian objects to shield or impede military operations is itself a violation of international humanitarian law. And of course, we expect all parties on the ground to comply with international humanitarian law.
But this specifically
Happening in Gaza is happening because of Hamas.
Here, so let me just go back because he responds to this first statement of hers by saying, "Hey, I'm talking about the use of the United States weaponry that we send over to Israel in these instances."
Happening in Gaza.
is there any action?
Well, every single thing that is happening in Gaza is happening because of Hamas. Every single dynamic.
So yeah, this is like their mentality. Everything that's happening in Gaza is Hamas's fault. It's insane. Yeah, we're just indiscriminately bombing civilians. We're destroying every fucking building there, leveling the entire place. It's not Israel's fault. No, they have no responsibility for their actions. This is entirely the fault of Hamas. It's insane. And of course, this is the role that Hamas is supposed to play. The leaders at the top, they all have this coordinated, as I've shown in my previous video, and as I've sort of alluded to at the beginning of this video. But what's interesting here is that one of the medics that was killed, one of the people in one of these ambulances that was killed, actually recorded his death as an ad, of course. So as this ambulance driver was pulling up on the scene, he was actually recording the scene, and he was recording like his approach to the scene.
Headlights or emergency signals.
So this is taken from the article that I looked at before. Israel, or the IDF, was quoted as saying several vehicles were identified advancing suspiciously towards the IDF troops without headlights or emergency signals. This was Israelis or the IDF's statement. But this paramedic, this ambulance driver, he actually recorded his approach to this scene and like his death basically. And you can see that they did have emergency lights flashing. They did have headlights on. They were not approaching suspiciously. So this completely proves that the IDF, that these Israeli forces lied about this. They opened fire on them anyway, killing all of them. After they killed them, they buried them in a mass grave. And then there was another statement, and it was like something that like they were shown to have like Hamas connections or something like that. Some ridiculous statement. And like these guys on the Jimmy Dore show, they pointed out, they were like, how could they conclude this? How do they know this? They killed them and then buried them in a mass grave. So it's just like so many of the other things that they do. They they kill civilians, and then they say, oh, we killed Hamas members over there. We definitely got some jihadists. And it's like, no, they're just saying that. They present zero evidence for these crimes or for their actions or for their claims, as I guess I should be saying. So they provide zero evidence for their claims that these are jihadists that they're killing, that these are Hamas members that they've killed. They just kill indiscriminately. And then they just blame it. It doesn't really matter. They don't have to provide evidence for their claims because everything is Hamas's fault anyway. Anyway, here's another article. We're going to be stepping away from that. Here's another article. Israeli settler seen on camera assaulting a Palestinian village. Police arrest only Palestinians. Okay, I think the headline speaks for itself. Now moving on over to London. Quakers say London police arrested 6 people at meeting on climate change, Gaza. So British police raided a Quaker meeting house. This was March 28th, so a couple of weeks ago. British police raided a Quaker meeting house in London on Thursday and arrested 6 women attending a meeting on climate change and the war in Gaza, according to a statement from Quakers UK. No one has been arrested in a Quaker meeting house in living memory, said Paul Parker, recording clerk for Quakers in Britain, according to the statement. This aggressive violation of our place of worship and the forceful removal of young people holding a protest group meeting clearly show what happens when a society criminalizes protest. Now, the reason why they say this is because Israel, the UK has basically recently criminalized protest. We're going to be seeing that in a couple of articles. They don't call it protest. They now call it creating a public nuisance. It's like, yeah, you're going to try to protest crimes against humanity. You're going to try to protest war crimes. Oh, no, you're just creating a public nuisance, or you're just being a public nuisance. CNN has reached out to London Metropolitan Police for comment. Quakers, a nickname for members of the Religious Society of Friends, follow a religious tradition that originally grew from Protestant Christianity in the 17th century. And then it just basically says this about Quakers, and no additional comment, but I have other articles for that. So youth activists arrested over plan to shut down London, an anti-Israeli campaign. I love this defamatory label. This label that's clearly meant to be like a derogatory label. Oh yeah, they're anti-Israeli. They're not anti-genocide. They're anti-Israel. Let's read this, right? So 6 members, basically the same exact thing. They were arrested at a meeting in Westminster over plans to shut down London next month in a campaign that accuses the UK government of facilitating genocide in Gaza and demands a complete halt to trade with Israel. The Metropolitan Police said the individuals were detained on suspicion of conspiracy to cause a public nuisance after officers raided a welcome talk at the Quaker meeting house at 7:30 p.m. on Thursday. This is really dystopian because this is basically like pre-crime. They're just having a meeting. They're actually just there talking to one another. They're actually not in the middle of a crime whatsoever. And the Metropolitan Police, the UK government, the United Kingdom government, like, no, we're going to arrest you because we believe you're going to commit a crime in the future. So the group, which describes itself as a new youth resistance campaign fighting for an end to genocide, claimed more than 30 officers were involved in the raid and said the arrest showed that police repression has reached a new level. A Met spokesperson said, Youth Demand has stated an intention to shut down London over the month of April using tactics including swarming and roadblocks. While we absolutely recognize the importance of the right to protest, we have a responsibility to intervene to prevent activity that crosses the line from protest into serious disruption and other criminality. But it didn't happen yet. Okay, so anyway, let's read on. On Thursday, officers raided a Youth Demand planning meeting where those in attendance were plotting their April action. 6 people were arrested on suspicion of conspiracy to cause a public nuisance. The force confirmed that a number of houses were also raided on Thursday and Friday as part of the same operation. So other people were also arrested for pre-crime. Youth Demand said the meeting was intended to be an opportunity to share plans for non-violence, civil resistance actions. This has got to be worded better, right? And alleged that one of those arrested is a journalist. The group has made anti-Israeli demand central to its messaging, calling for the UK government to cut all trade with Israel and accusing it of enabling genocide. It also wants the state to raise money from the super rich and fossil fuel elite to pay damages for the effects of fossil fuel burning. Now, I completely disagree with this whole climate change narrative. I think we all know this. I just find it interesting that they mix the two stories here, or the two ideas from this group here. And once again, like, this statement, this anti-Israel demands, right, is essential to its messaging. It's like, but wait a second. Why are they against Israel right now? It's not necessarily anti-Israel. They're not against the state of Israel existing. They're just against the state's genocidal actions. So a Youth Demand spokesperson said, "It's clear that the government sees Youth Demand as a threat. They know that we are right." Well, yeah, they see that you guys are a threat. I wouldn't say that that automatically means that they know that you're right? But it is interesting how they are trying to create a radio blackout or a media blackout on this topic, and how they do not want people out there presenting this to the public. I mean, they allow that fucking orange group, the one that protests fossil fuels, they allow them to do all kinds of goofy shit, blocking roads and all that sort of stuff. They don't pre-crime arrest them, but for some reason they're pre-criming arresting these people. The government is facilitating genocide. Thousands of us are horrified. We will not be silenced. Young people all over the country are coming together to shut down London day after day throughout April. I guess that hasn't really happened, right? And if it has happened, there's a media blackout on it. The group's tactics have previously drawn criticism, including from within the Jewish community. In April last year, 3 activists hung a banner and laid rows of children's shoes outside the home of labor leader Sir Kerry Starmer. Lenora Ward, 21, this person 23, and Daniel Formenton, 24, were each handed suspended prison sentences over the stunt. Over what stunt? Having a banner, like hanging a banner and laying rows of children's shoes, that's now a public nuisance? So that's another thing, is like, what are they deeming a public nuisance? And over there, it's like they have laws where it's like you're not allowed to offend people. If a person's like, oh no, I feel offended, you can get arrested. So these people handed suspended sentences, and they say over the stunt. It's like, what stunt? You mean bringing attention to this obvious genocide? So more arrests followed in July when Youth Demand announced plans to disrupt the state opening of Parliament. Despite the latest police intervention, the group is promoting another welcome talk. So yeah, that covers that, right? Do we have another one? We got another one, but it's pretty much the same exact story. So in some slightly positive news from the Times of Israel over here, this is March 29th, 2025. Dozens of medical reservists said to refuse return to Gaza combat. So dozens of reservists from the medical corps have declared their refusal to return to combat in the Gaza Strip, citing ethical and legal aspects and the extension of the conflict beyond all reason, Can News reported this evening. The outlet reported that a letter on the subject was signed by medical professionals of various ranks, including doctors, paramedics, mental health officers, and nurses. The reservists said the war is causing harm to civilians on both sides, to Israel's social fabric, and to the country's long-term survival. They also noted, quote, the takeover of territories and the call to settle them in Gaza in violation of international law. The military is believed to be facing a growing problem of reservists not showing up for duty, both due to fatigue from many rounds of reserve duty over the past 16 months and due to rising anger at the hard-right government's external and internal policies. So at least some of these reservists, at least some of these Israeli forces, at least some of these Israeli soldiers are, kind of pushing back on this, sort of protesting. The next thing that I want to cover is this bombing in Yemen. So Trump posted this video of this bombing in Yemen where there was all these people in a big circle, and he was like, oh yeah, these were Houthi rebels having a military meeting. And the first time I saw the video, and you can see them over here. Let me try to zoom in. This is taken from that video. The first time I saw this video, I was like, that is not a very strategic circle. That does not make sense to have a meeting like this. How can what's being said over here be heard from the people over here? We're going to play telephone and have this meeting go on forever? And why would they have this meeting out in the open? And where are the military vehicles? If this is a military meeting, where are the military vehicles? Where are the military weapons? There doesn't seem to be any weaponry over here whatsoever. So the Jimmy Dore show, they covered this. They have this antiwar.com article. Yemeni media says Trump shared footage of a U.S. strike on a religious gathering. Yeah, that's right. This was a religious gathering. He claimed the footage showed the bombing of Houthis who were gathered for instructions on an attack, but it wasn't. It was a religious gathering, and they even present images from another religious gathering. This is another image. Yemeni tribes gather like this on most occasions, especially in the villages and rural areas. Yeah, these Houthis gathered for instruction on launching an attack. No, this is a religious gathering, and this is another example of these big religious circles that they have, and this has to do with like the end of this religious holiday that they just had. I believe it was Eid, or whenever they're doing their fasting. So this is actually what it was. It was a religious gathering, and Trump straight up bombed it, and then shared that footage and lied about what that footage was. Horrible. They're just horrible human beings. Now, another thing I want to share with everybody is one of my subscribers, I forget if it was on BitChute or YouTube, they had told me, they were like, oh yeah, look up this page of this New York Times article on this day, right? And I did that, and I came across this article from the New York Times. New World Order pledged to Jews. Let's take a look at this article, right? So these articles, they had these like ridiculous titles on them. I zoomed in on it over here. So New World Order pledged to Jews. Arthur Greenwood of British War Cabinet sends message of assurance here. Writing of wrong scene. English rabbi delivers to Dr. S.S. Wise new statement on question after war. So let's read this real quick. In the first public declaration on the Jewish question since the outbreak of the war, Arthur Greenwood, member without portfolio in the British War Cabinet, I don't know what the hell that means, assured the Jews of the United States that when victory was achieved, an effort would be made to found a new world order based on the ideals of justice and peace. Mr. Greenwood, who is deputy leader of the British Labour Party, declared that in the new world, the conscience of civilized humanity would demand that the wrongs suffered by the Jewish people in so many countries should be righted. He added that after the war, an opportunity would be given to Jews everywhere to make a distinctive and constructive contribution in the rebuilding of the world. The message was delivered last week to Dr. Stephen S. Wise, chairman of the executive committee of the World Jewish Congress, by Rabbi Marcy L. Perzelwig, chairman of the British section of the Congress. So anyway, intention to right wrongs. Comparing the statements with the Balfour Declaration of 1917, Dr. Wise declared that in a sense it had widened and farther-reaching implications, as it dealt with the status of Jews throughout the world. He said that Mr. Greenwood's message could be interpreted as a statement of England's firm intention to help right the wrongs which Jews have suffered and continue to suffer today because of Hitler's disorder and lawlessness. Now, what's interesting is that this article, its date of October 6, 1940, precedes any evidence or claims of the Holocaust. Okay, no claims or evidence of the Holocaust or Germany's like mass extermination of Jews. None of that came out until at least June of 1941, and that's when they claimed that Germany had like mobile execution squads, mass killing of Jews in, I guess, the Soviet Union. And then it didn't really come out until 1945. So the wrongs that they're talking about that the Jews suffered here have nothing to do with the Holocaust. Okay, but it seems like this article like almost like knew that was coming, and it was going to base this new world order on the ideals of justice and peace. You know, justice for the Jews. Anyway, let's move on. I want to sort of finish this article off with two more things, right? So while all of this shit is going on, We have pieces of trash like Lady Gaga holding satanic rituals at concerts. So Lady Gaga's unsettling Coachella performance with satanic rituals has fans all saying the same thing after watching pop stars' opera-themed set. So all these people who are at this concert to me are scumbags. Like if you're out there celebrating while all of this is going on, you're a sick individual. And there's a comment, a recording that I have from another good reporter, another person who's actually reporting on these horrible things going on. And it was something like, let me see if I can find it. 1 second. So this is something that I heard on the David Knight show, and I thought it was just very well said. This is somebody, I guess, commented on his live stream and said the following.
Not angry when there is just cause for anger is immoral. Why? Because anger looks to the good of justice. If you can live amid injustice without anger, you are immoral as well as unjust. I absolutely agree.
Yeah, if you're not angry when there's just cause to be angry, then you're immoral. And this is like, it's almost like synonymous with the saying that like being well-adjusted to a profoundly sick world is no measure of good health. And that's how I feel about all of these people who are walking around and they're just like in their own little fantasy world, and all of these other people who are like, oh no, don't get angry. You know, no, don't get angry. Just go on doing your own thing. Go on being a self-centered individual. And that leads us to our next person over here, Brian, from High Impact Flicks, Here's the Deal, and The Disturbing Illusion. He has covered this topic virtually not at all. He has not covered this topic whatsoever. He'll dance around it, and it's pathetic. So a while ago, I commented on this video of his. He has the sober autistic kid falsely arrested for DUI. I'm sorry, he doesn't actually look all that sober, but I'm not going to get into that. Let's go into this, right? So I write, this was my first comment. I'm like, so Israel is genociding people in Gaza, helping terrorists genocide people in Syria, and expanding their territory into the West Bank. But this clown thinks this is the crap he should be covering. Yup, soulless shill. That's my comment on this video, right? So he says, so somebody responds, this is the type of stuff this channel is all about. It's called Here's the Deal because that's what cops say before they violate people's rights. Maybe try this channel, The Disturbing Illusion, for commentary on non-police issues. So I respond, he's silent on is not real over there too. And what is happening in that part of the world deserves ubiquitous attention. I don't care if your channel specializes in Barney the fucking dinosaur, you should be talking about it. Without concord, there's only discord. So then this person then responds, the first person who responded to me, responds again. You also need to understand, this is Brian's job, his livelihood. He has already lost plenty of channels talking about things the Jews don't like. This is a safe space for him. He needs a safe space for him to continue making money. Yep, it's all about making money. Fuck the injustices going on in the world. Some people gotta make their money doing this bullshit. All his videos on BitChute are from his YouTube channel, so they're all going to be kosher. So same excuse the news anchors have, the Nazis had, the police he complains about have. Why not get another job and speak the real truth like a decent person? I work 2 other jobs and make videos for free. Why do other people have to sell their souls and integrity to make videos and do other things? Brian is working for the same beast as the rest of them. I believe he is doing so willingly, not unwillingly, like you might think. And this is the truth. This is an insane excuse. Oh yeah, all of these people, they're not talking about it on all of these other channels. You have all these other fucking bullshit channels out there covering the most bullshit stuff. You got the Hodge twins covering completely irrelevant bullshit clickbait garbage. Oh, this person freaked out in this place. You have all of these other channels covering total garbage, fixating just one-trick ponies on bullshit. And all their excuses are, oh, well, I'm trying to make money. This is my living. Well, get another fucking job, asshole. There's plenty of other jobs out there, and you'll have plenty of other time. You'll have plenty of free time to fucking make videos and speak the truth. So that just goes to show, it's like these people, they don't do it because they have a passion for speaking the truth. They don't do it because they have integrity and principles that they're standing on. They're doing it for money. These people make me sick. But anyway, I'm going to end this video here. I don't have much else to say. I'm going to change it up a little bit. Get fucking angry, people.
Feel a fucking feeling, Dennis. Think a thought. You're an empty shell out here.